I'm going to tell you the story from start to finish, basically my entire fitness journey and how I ended up where I am today, which is more or less with, having achieved my dream physique, so to speak. And really for years, this is a 7-year journey, but for the vast majority of that time, only up until recently, did I really unlock and break through. And so I kind of phrasing this as like how I actually locked in. And we're going to talk about kind of how I think about what locking in actually means, because it's a term that, at least in my understanding, is that it's a relatively kind of new expression that implies that you've kind of, had some sort of revelation or really figured out what kind of patterns and behaviors are going to, actually materialize into you, being the best version of yourself. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video. I'm tired. I've got, got to wake up at 4:45 tomorrow. But this is something I really, really want to talk about, and I've just been putting this off for too long. So I actually made this presentation here, so I'm gonna go into it. But so yeah, 7-year transformation here, and you can see on the left, like I was just, some people start scrawny. That's an understatement for me. I had no base, no muscle. I was just a total twig in all aspects. And I remember, I got started at 18. A lot of you guys are going to start way earlier, and that's great. And it's not going to take you 7 years. If, I spent year-long periods completely wasting time because it just wasn't a priority to me. But I will say each year was just a different kind of chapter, and so we're going to get into that. But you're going to see on the right here the end result, which is, to me, it's, in some sense just a physique transformation. But when you talk about someone's physique, or you're looking at someone's physique, like you're really looking at the culmination of all of the patterns and behaviors, and you're looking at the culmination of all the things that they've done to look like that, right? If we all just did what the average American does, you would just not look anything like this. And that's what makes this so impressive, is just the mindset that you actually have to reach this level, and the sacrifice that it takes to get to this level. It's really all about sacrifice. So let's get into it here. Next slide. So I ripped this slide off of my a slide deck that I have for my coaching. So just introducing who I am briefly. Right now I'm 25, from San Francisco, California. I actually went to school out on the East Coast in Boston, graduated there, worked in finance after school. I obviously, now I'm a fitness and do calisthenics specifically. I used to play soccer, golf, was interested in poker, and still am. I'm an Eagle Scout, actually. I used to play guitar. I do play guitar, but I need to get back into it. And then, I used to play video games. I do really enjoy movies and stuff. So I've got just kind of a collage of pictures here showing a little bit about, from my life. Again, I just ripped this slide off of my coaching presentation. So this is 2018. I've got a bunch more pictures, and I just wanted to show a couple that just the starting point here is, there's nothing going on here. This is just, this is just being a twig. And, it's also just the mindset that you have at this stage. Like, I was 18. I didn't think anything about being behind. Like, if I am in my mental now talking to this kid as an 18-year-old, I'm saying, like, you got to get started yesterday. What are you doing? We got to bulk you up. You got to start eating more protein. You got to, all the things that I would have this kid doing. But I remember taking these pictures and being like, this is, I need these before pictures, because I knew I was going to try to do something at some point. I was going to try to really take things to the next level, but I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how long it would take. I didn't know if I was going to take this picture and in 3 months I would have, a 6-pack or a big bicep vein to show. I didn't know actually how long that this would take to get to where I could take an after photo and really be happy about it. It took years, and it took way more dedication than I expected. So 2019, in college. So really when I started weightlifting to begin with, it was when I was 18 and when I got to college. So I flew out to Boston, and that's where I got access to a gym, and that's where I was able to start putting on some muscle, and I think generally my diet was, above average. It's not hard to be above average diet in America these days. So I had a, good, decent diet, nothing too crazy there, but, was able to add some muscle, as you can see. I mean, if we look at kind of the bicep on 2018 when I was 18 versus 19, clearly there's been improvement there. And then 2020 was when COVID hit. I had actually been making good progress, and you can see my physique is, still not good, still a scrawny kid, but I've, got just a little bit of ab definition coming through. The traps look a little bit bigger. There's a little bit more definition in the shoulder. But then COVID hit early 2020, sent us all home. So I flew back to California, and I completely gave up on, I lost access to the gym. And, I think I might have gotten a 24-hour fitness membership, but I just never went. And I remember just that time being stuck at home, playing video games every day. And I'll tell you, my favorite snack was the just power berries, like the blue acai berries. And I told myself, oh, they're not that bad because like they're berries, and but of course they're horrible. It was probably, I'd have to look again, but it's like 25 grams of sugar per serving or whatever. And I would have a big bag of that. Those were so good. That was like crack. I was eating that stuff like crazy, just all day. That, and I would eat also a box, literally like a plastic box filled with cookies. Those were my snacks, and I would eat it constantly throughout the day, no breaks. And I would wake up on a weekend or not on a weekend. I mean, we were in school, but it was virtual classes. I would have sometimes not 1, but 2 bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So, I mean, you just add up all this stuff together, and it is a recipe. It was just a carb and sugar rush off, of months long. And so you can see July 2020, that was me. And this picture is probably the low point. Is my frame a little bit bigger? Maybe I've got still some muscle under there, but you can see the stomach. I mean, look at the abs on the left versus the right. The right is just totally bloated, skinny fat, right? I mean, just the picture of skinny fat on the right. So that was kind of the bottom there, and I was, almost 21. So when I was 21, so then I flew back to Boston when they got their, whatever figured out, like we could come back to school. And these are just some pictures from that year. I really kind of went back to the gym, but it was a phase of just going through the motions. So I don't know if you've ever been in that phase where you're showing up to the gym and you tell yourself, well, I'm going to the gym, I'm fit, I'm working out, but this is not a locked in state. This was not a time of my life where I was like thinking I was getting everything right. Like I was eating Nutter Butters out of vending machines. I remember, I would, a lot of times in the cafeteria at school, what I would eat was, 2 burger patties. I'd put some ketchup on there. So some sugar there, but not a bad, like I would try to avoid carbs, and I would try to be like really thinking lean, and I would eat those burger patties, no bun, but then I would have like a slice of pizza, or then I would go do this or that, or then I would drink a twisted tea with 30 grams of sugar or whatever it is. So in 2021, and I will tell you, there was a phase where I was definitely drinking like 2 or 3 twisted teas a night. Those things are packed with sugar, packed with alcohol, and I was just living the college life at this point pretty much. So I was telling myself I was doing some things right, but honestly, on the back end, I was giving it all back through bad habits, which is, I think, what a lot of people out there do, right? And so they're wondering, why am I not making progress? Why am I stuck in this mid-physique stage? And the answer is that you're doing things right in certain places to justify in your head, hey, I'm doing the things I need to do to get in shape, but you're ignoring the bad habits that you have, and you honestly brainwash yourself over time, because it happened to me. Like, those bad habits I just didn't actually think mattered. Oh, wow. It's like, yes, they do matter. The fact that you skipped you got the beef patty, but you didn't eat the processed bun, yeah, good job. But then you went back to your dorm room and you drank 2 twisted teas with the boys. Like, that's right. And you have to figure, and we're gonna get to this in a second, because this is a key. But there is such a it is such a needle mover, your sleep, your drinking. I mean, these are nights where I'm up to 2, 3 in the morning drinking college parties. I mean, forget about it. You cannot get to a, maximally shredded state in that environment, right? And so a lot of this in locking in comes down to the people around you as well, because those are going to influence your habits. So even now, like, I live more or less by myself in my own routine. I have complete control over what I'm doing, but throw me an environment where I'm, back with the boys or doing this, or maybe you're living at home and your mom makes that one spaghetti dish every week that is not really in your program, right? And so I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that, but what I am saying is, if you want to quote unquote lock in, then you gotta lock those things out, and like, you have to seriously do it. It cannot go in your system. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it is, very intense what you have to do to make it all the way. So, and again, multi-year journey here, and I'm not saying like, oh, I wish, I do wish I had really locked in college, and I wish I had done all this sooner. I wish I achieved my dream physique sooner, but that's just not how the story unfolded. And honestly, when I was 21 and in this stage of my life, I had other priorities. Being shredded was not at the top of the list. As you can see, I played guitar, I went to parties, whatever. But anyway, as we approached the end of 2021, I realized I had bad habits. I wasn't happy about how I looked in the mirror. That picture on the left was, I've got some muscle. Clearly, I was going to the gym. It's better than the 2020 version, for sure. We were not eating massive boxes of cookies, massive, sugary snacks, and etc. But habits across the board, like I said, were not great. And so in that picture, that was a point where I knew that I wanted to start to cut. And you can see I'm literally, like, the way I'm posing, like with my arm, like basically covering my abs, because I've got, I always wanted abs, but I could never get them to show. And it's like, okay, no wonder you're not acting as if you want abs. You have to earn that, really. I mean, because your body wants to put on fat. I mean, honestly. So a lot of the things I was doing was just not gonna allow me to get abs. So I'm clearly covering up there, like trying to pass it off as like, oh, I'm doing like, oh yeah, hang loose, bro. But I'm clearly trying to cover up. So anyway, at the end of, it was really November 2021 was my first try at really locking in. And so what I did was, and to be fair, I did lock in. And you can see on the right where I started to make some progress on losing weight. So I actually started out in the kind of 151 was where I was kind of going into this first cutting phase. And that picture on the left there is from summer of 2021, a little bit earlier, but just also gives you an idea of just, I've got a White Claw in hand, chilling, got the belly is, still skinny fat, right? We've got the belly rolls kind of coming over the swimsuit there. So November 2021, I was like, all right, I'm really going to try to lock in. I remember having a conversation with my dad on the phone, and I just got really inspired to be like, enough is enough. Like, I'm going to take this super seriously. So I went to OMAD diet. So I did 1 meal a day, and that meal was a Chipotle bowl. I thought, that was actually the diet. And it was actually, again, my dad put me onto this. It was, what's that guy's name? Greg, who's Greg? He does OMAD with Chipotle bowl, and that picture above is this is the Lily's chocolate bar. So I'd actually eat a chocolate bar at night. So this was just part of the plan. It was like part of what you do, and the whole theory behind the chocolate bar at night is like, this is the thing that keeps you sane. This is the thing that makes it so you can actually keep doing this diet, because otherwise, if it's just too strict, you're not going to abide by it. The whole thing's going to fall apart. So you need something to make it actually work. So I was following this diet. I think I broke I would fast until about noon. I would eat an apple, and then I would eat nothing until my Chipotle bowl at night, and then the chocolate bar. And it worked. So I'm sure you see the graph there. I dropped weight pretty rapidly, and I could show you the entire Withings. I got a Withings scale, which, measures your weight and your body fat percentage. And, well, I think directionally it's accurate. I mean, the weight is certainly accurate, but you can see like the weight started to drop pretty dramatically. So by mid-December, I weighed a 140 down from 151. And by March 25th of 2022, so I started in November, and I actually went home for like Christmas break. I mean, I'm sure that I wasn't perfect over Christmas break, but in any case, by March 25th, 2022, I was 132 pounds. And I remember that I really overshot my goal. I mean, I was not trying to get quite that light. And the Withings scale says 132 is the low. I didn't weigh myself every day, and I actually think I might have taken a break from the Withings scale, because I almost remember that I was actually under 130 at one point, which was like getting scary low. But as I look at my physique here in this picture, March 25th, 2022, when I took that picture, I was like, wow, I am super lean. I had never seen my chest like that before, and I really never knew how to pose or anything, because posing was like, why am I posing? I mean, it's still new for me now, because I never had a physique to pose. So I never thought like about posing. Like, I never thought of myself as a bodybuilder. I always thought my frame was just too small. I just wanted a respectable physique that would draw a couple eyes. I didn't need to be the biggest guy in the gym, and that's what I believe today. And I'll get to why I don't believe in cutting and bulking. And I get a lot of YouTube comments on some of my shorts that show my physique transformation. People say, bulk up, bro, bulk up. You got to bulk up. Because even now, I only weigh 138, 140 pounds, even now. But I'm way more shredded than I am in this picture, where I'm at 132. I still don't quite have a six pack. It's almost there, but I wouldn't say I have a six pack there. But in any case, it's interesting that in this picture at 132, I'm actually not as shredded as I am even right now. So clearly, I know this was a long time ago, but you really can recompose your body into different, right, body fat versus kind of lean tissue versus, body fat versus lean tissue mix. So that's just, one interesting takeaway. But again, when I took this picture, I really thought like, wow, this is the best shape. Like, I was so happy with this picture. I thought I looked great. I thought my forearm looked really good. I really liked the veins on my arm. I thought was really cool. So it was just fun actually to see from not that long ago, right? This was July 2021 on the other side of the slide. And I looked like crap. I just was not confident at all. just enjoying college, but it was so fun to actually go on this, like, okay, I did this. By the way, the OMAD diet thing I only did actually for like a couple weeks. The rest of the time I just was on a calorie deficit, and I used MyFitnessPal. I logged my foods. I logged my foods, and I had my macro goals, and I had carbs set to a low amount of the total split. I don't remember what it was exactly. I can tell you what I aim for now, but the point is, the OMAD diet I did for a couple weeks to get me started, and it really dropped my weight fast, but I did not do that the entire time. I did just more of a standard kind of cut where I looked at my calorie balance, right? You look at your calorie balance, you use a basic, calorie calculator. Let's see. So here we go. This is what you do, guys. You go, okay, I'm 25, I'm 5'10", I weigh 140, and I always go, so if you're gonna count, this is for calculating your calorie balance, right? So how many calories does it take for you to eat in a day to just maintain your weight is what we're getting at. So I use this calculator, and honestly, I think I said like light to sedentary exercise, which was not really true, right? But I always wanted to shoot under. So if you do this, it'll give you a lower number. So to maintain weight, 1952, versus if I say that I'm super active. So this is the variability that I think, like, this input will make a big difference. And it's kind of like, how do you, okay, I exercise 3 to 4 times a week, but is it like, you're on the bike for 2 hours shredding calories, or are you weightlifting and it's a little bit less, using up calories? So anyway, that's kind of how I think about this calculator. But back to the presentation here. All right. So anyway, by March 25th, 2022, that's how we looked. Now 2023. So this slide actually says 2023, 2024. I think this is just 2023. All these pictures. So 2023, I graduated. I moved back to California, and I got a job, and was, back living at home. And I think it's fair to say that by this point, I had kind of bulked my way back up all the way from 142 to, wait, let me make sure I'm not, okay, yeah, I had bulked my way up from that 132 level all the way back up to the high 140s. I remember I was 147, 148, something like this, maybe even 150 at some point. And so at 2023, that picture on the left is February of 2023. So by basically from this picture on the right, March 25th, 2022, to this picture on the left is about a year. And you can see I've got a lot more muscle. So this whole bulking phase was actually effective. And I, again, was wiser by the year. So I was eating smarter. I was, but still drinking, still living life, but each year, a little bit more rigorous with like, okay, here I'm cutting this out, I'm cutting that out. So 2023, I got a little picture of McDonald's. Like, I was still eating fast food. Fast food was still maybe once or twice a week. It was just one of those things, that guilty like pleasure. I loved going to McDonald's, getting some chicken nuggets, and if your objective is to bulk up and get massive, and maybe that can be a part of your program. I'm not saying that. So I really am more focused on the shredding aspect and cutting aspect. And I do believe that cutting out things like fast food and processed food will help you get a leaner physique. I think it just helps you manage inflammation. I really believe now that a lot of the processed foods out there just generally cause bloating and inflammation in your body that make it more difficult to get things like visible abs and veins, and vascularity. So 2023, again, I've got a physique that looks like what I basically just said, which is, yes, clearly muscular. The abs there are maybe starting to show, but again, we've still got, this is probably, if I had to guess, something like maybe 12, 13, 14, something between 12 and 15% body fat, maybe 15, probably closer to 15. But really good musculature. So again, the habits were improving, but we're still drinking at night, and one of the behaviors that I had during this time was I would work out hard. I trained hard. I did have good high intensity weightlifting sessions, but you know, here's one of the things one of the key takeaways I'll drop on you. Like, what day of the week do you think is your best weightlifting session? Do you think it's during the week after you get off work and you roll into the gym and you're tired and exhausted? At least I am. I don't think so. I think it's Saturday when you can wake up. I like to go to the gym early on Saturday. It's like the first thing I do. I'm excited. I have energy. It's the weekend. The sun is out. That's my ideal time. But during this time, what are you doing on Friday night? Are you going out and you're getting blasted on Friday night? Alcohol is just bad in general. It's bad for muscle growth. And it's bad for your sleep. So your sleep is not optimized. It is a disaster, basically, to be drinking on Friday night, stay up till 1, 2 in the morning, and then wake up on Saturday and think that you're going to have an optimal lift or something close to that. No. So I can tell you I had so many Saturday mornings waking up, 10, 11, noon getting to the gym, right? Hungover, low energy. I mean, that's such a blunder. So you cannot be doing that. If you want to lock in, there's just no way to sustain a culture where you're staying out late and especially drinking late. And now, today, one of the strategies I implement, because I do still drink sometimes, I'm way dialed back on it. But if you're going to do it, start drinking early and end early and go to sleep early. So just try to manage it, right? Have some drinks at dinner at 7, 8 o'clock, right? And then go to sleep by 10. And so you haven't had a drink for a couple hours before you go to sleep, and then you still went to bed at a, reasonable time. And then on the right, you see I went to New York, September 2023, and I put a picture of that pizza slice in there because that is the last slice of pizza I have had, I think, to date. So I was really trying to dial back on things that were just a total catastrophe for my program. So pizza is basically just one big piece of bread, which is what I was trying to avoid, starting to try to avoid those things, and that I think is the last slice of pizza I've had, literally September 2023. So now we're July 2025. So it's been almost 2 years since I had a slice of pizza. That's how rigorous this stuff is. And so what I'm trying to illustrate with each one of these years and with each one of these slides is that the process of locking in takes time. There's so much out there, on social media, bro, just lock in. You do not wake up one morning and you're in this locked in state. That's obviously ridiculous. This is a process over time, and it doesn't mean it's going to take 7 years for you like it did for me. We're not even at the end of this story yet, because all of my progress really came quickly. It reached a climax point where I was just like, screw it, I'm going all in. So let's get to that part of the story. But as you can see, I have that picture of that selfie of me in the middle is basically me just I think it's 4 a.m. I'm at the office. So this is all in the context of now a full-time job that I got in midway through 2023, which is pretty grueling hours and certainly stressful. And that also has an impact on your performance and your ability to make gains as well. And then this picture on the right is basically how I looked exiting 2023. So, decent physique. I'm not posing in any way. I'm not flexing, so it's not a particularly good picture. Again, even at this point in 2023, I just didn't take a lot of pictures of myself with my shirt off. I was not confident. I was, you can call it body dysmorphia, but honestly, in today's kind of sphere, there's nothing super special about the physique on the right. There is a good deal of muscle there. You can't really see it. I had a really, I did have strengths, and again, here I only weigh, maybe something a little over 140 pounds probably in that picture. So just kind of that mediocre physique, right? I mean, by all means, it's a good physique, but it's not the dream, right? And so that's what this is all about. So 2024, I've got a bunch of pictures here. 2024 was another just year of kind of really high intensity workouts, but we're not quite all the way dialed in terms of things like diet and sleep. And food and sleep, I mean, if you think about kind of a triangle of locking in just from a practical standpoint, exercise, food, and sleep. I mean, that's kind of the trifecta. So I really only had kind of one of those pieces with kind of a green light, and the other two were kind of pending. And so on the left is a little bit more kind of earlier on in the year, and then just these are just a bunch of pictures of my life during 2024. In the middle, that picture was taken. I was at the I was in Barcelona. I went to Europe. So you can see, I mean, I've got some more posing shots. I started to flex a little bit more. I had a more of a muscular physique. I felt more confident when I was in the gym at this point. So I had been building muscle, and in all these pictures of kind of showing my physique, you can start to see like my shoulder looks quite strong, my bicep, my tricep look quite good. So here I'm actually flexing and clearly was building muscle. And I started to notice this was actually the latest picture of all this in 2024 is that picture with my looking at my veins. I was in Las Vegas sitting at the bar, and I noticed just my veins were very dilated, and so that was the first time I'd ever seen like, whoa, I really have veins in my forearm right now. And so I took that picture. But again, in 2024, it was just another year of trying to dial in more, but we really didn't take things all the way until 2025. So let me go ahead and jump to I have a blank slide here. 2025. So this is basically what I accomplished. I mean, this was the end result, and I think this picture here, second to the left, is maybe the best physique shot that I have. There are some others. I've taken a bunch now, but I think I look pretty shredded in this second to the left. And so let me tell you what changed basically from kind of 2024 to, actually I wanted to, if you'll bear with me one second, I wanted to look at my photos here because I wanted to show you one picture from January of 2025. So January of 2025 is when everything changed, and I'm gonna break it all down for you. But January 2025, I basically sat down at the beginning of the year, and I came up with a 13 goals that I had for the year. 13 goals, and I wrote them down, and I don't have my notebook with me here, but honestly I wouldn't show them to you even if I did, because some of them are quite personal. But one of them was to have visible abs. I mean, it's been a long-term goal, and so I wrote it down. And I'm somebody that when I do commit to something like that, it's in writing or I say it out loud, or I really once it in my mind becomes something I'm committed to, I always follow through. And so I'm very good about that. And so there's a lot of pieces to this, but January 2025, I want to show you just some pictures. So here's a picture. January 2025. This is not a locked in physique, right? This looks like the 2024 physique, a good amount of muscle, but just, we're starting to see some serratus. We're starting to see a little bit of something here, but it's, it's not shredded. It's not diced. And that picture was taken on January 11th of 2025. And by February 15th, a little over 1 month later, I look like that. And this is really bad lighting. Let me see if I can find something that's a little bit... Here's another picture. This is around the same time, February. Like, this was where I was like, oh man, I'm getting shredded now. Because I had all that 2024 muscle built up. And once I locked in, that's kind of what the result was. So by March 2025, I was totally diced, totally shredded. 8-pack, looking really, really nice. So anyway, that was kind of that, just how to illustrate how quickly this happened, right? We're still in 2025 now. So it was really like, I say it was 2 months, to go from kind of mediocre 2024 physique to diced, shredded 2025 physique. But it was like 1 month, if I'm being honest. It was like January to February. And so, guess what my number one of the 13 goals that I wrote down? Another one was dry January. So the story is this. Basically, you saw that picture in 2024 I was in Las Vegas. That was the trip that honestly changed everything, because I basically celebrated New Year's in LA. I flew to Las Vegas. I like poker, as I mentioned. I did some gambling. I met some people, had a great time in Las Vegas. But the trip ended. I woke up on the morning I needed to check out at 10 a.m. I had gone to bed at 6 a.m. after a long night of drinking, bad habits. It was fun, but I woke up with the meanest hangover. And that's when I told one of the guys I'd been hanging out with, I was like, that's it. I'm doing dry January. I'm not going to drink the rest of the month. And so I hinted at this earlier, but when I commit to something, I'm really good about following through. And the reason is, basically, when I commit to something like that and I say it out loud, the next time I'm presented with an opportunity to drink, to do that thing that I committed to, right? If it's, okay, I'm committing to not doing this thing, then when you're presented with that thing, all I need to do is to not do it that one time, and then it's a streak. So I spoke it into existence. I'm practicing it. Oh, this thing comes to me. I have to beat this, right? Oh, it's having a pint of ice cream at night. I do it every night. It's a habit. That would be a lot of ice cream, but say that is what it is for you. It's that first time that you have to say no. And if you can do that, then you've got a streak. And then all of a sudden the relationship is flipped in your mind, where all of a sudden it's not like, oh, I need to not do this thing. It's like, oh, I just need to keep not doing this thing. So the human mind is interesting, but what I'm getting at here is it's way easier to continue a trend than to start a new one. So if you make it a string of events where you've created a pattern of behavior, all you need to do is keep doing what you've been doing. And in your mind, it's a lot easier to keep doing what you've been doing than to start something new. So for me, that is what this whole 7 years was basically climaxing towards in 2025, was that I understood that. And all along the way, it was, like the Twisted Teas back in 2021. I had an epiphany where I was like, holy crap, these things have like 40 grams of sugar in them. So I said no to that. I cut it out and I stopped. And I've not had one since. Like, to be honest, I literally will never drink one again. I used to drink, here's another example. Long time, for years growing up, I would eat a big bag of like Boom Chicka Pop popcorn. I love that stuff, and honestly, from a macro perspective, it's pretty low calorie, the like skinny pop and stuff like that, but it does have seed oils in it, which is controversial. I don't know, you could have different perspectives on that, but that was an example of something where I was like, wow, I can go through a whole bag of this. And for a while I would go to like the grocery store or Walgreens, and I would go and I would buy that bag because I wanted to keep the habit, because I liked having that bag of popcorn, until that one time I walked in the grocery store and I said it out loud in my head. I was like, this is the moment where I either buy it or don't. And I didn't buy it. And then I never bought it again. Never again. Because once I've made that commitment and I've made the choice to not do it anymore, I know I have it in me. Like, I just made the decision. And so what am I going to do? Next time I go to Walgreens, now I'm going to start the bad habit again. I'm going to basically relapse on that commitment. Like, that would be an attack on my progress. Like, I want to hold on to that progress. I'm not giving that away easily. So that's the mindset you have to instill. And so that's what takes time, is you have all these habits and internally you know which ones to keep and which ones you don't. That's easy. You could write that down on a page, today. Which one should I keep? Which ones will I get rid of? But how fast can you make all these decisions? Because I guarantee you will not be able to lock in overnight and go, oh, here are all the bad habits I have that I know I need to get rid of to achieve the dream physique I want. I'll just stop doing them. Easy. Yeah, you're not gonna get rid of all those overnight. It's a process. Because if you were to get rid of all those overnight, I mean, honestly, you'd probably experience like a severe decrease in your serotonin level. Like, that would be a pretty shocking, change of behavior. So my change of behavior happened over years. And it's, not easy. But anyway, I woke up in that hotel room feeling like crap, stressed. I remember I had a great room. I looked out. I was like, wow, there's Las Vegas. I had a great view of Las Vegas. But I ripped myself out of bed. I was like, oh, I got to check out. I was like, I get all stressed about checking out. Like, someone's going to come breaking the door down and throw me out of the hotel room. And I told the guy that I was hanging out with, I'm not going to drink anymore for the rest of the month. And I remember the next opportunity I was presented to drink was that I was at the movies I was at BJ's with my dad before going to a movie. And I was like, I would really like a Jack Daniels and Diet Coke right now. That's what I knew I would have ordered. I would have done it. But I said no. And then all of a sudden I had a streak where I made the choice to not do it. So I know I can. And now at this point, next time the second time I'm given an opportunity to drink, if I did, then I would be relapsing on my commitment. I would be going backwards. So now it's easy because I made the choice. I made the hard choice, the uphill choice, saying no. Now all I need to do is keep saying no. And to me, in my mind, that's a level choice. That's not a constant uphill battle. It gets easier. By the end of dry January was not that hard. Were there moments throughout the month where I was presented where it was like, oh yeah, I would have, like, it was hard to resist because the environment around you, it's like, oh, cocktail event. It's like, okay, yeah, that's going to be a little bit hard. But it's only hard. I knew in those environments that I wasn't going to drink. I knew it. I was seeing other people drink, like, a little bit like tempting or whatever, sure. But I'm not an alcoholic. I was like, it just was something that I wanted to do. I was just like, hey, I'm going to take a 1 month off drinking. Like, let's see what this does. I didn't think, I didn't have a problem or anything. It can just be something that you do, because a dry January is a thing. Just go sober for a month. It wasn't that hard. But, shoot, I lost my train of thought. It wasn't that hard. So anyway, what did dry January do? Why does that matter? Why does that fit into this? Who even cares? Like, how does that get you shredded? Well, I do think cutting out alcohol, like, yes, it is going to help you for sure. But can you maintain this physique and still be drinking? Yes, also yes. But the real effect it had was not about the drinking. The real effect it had was a snowball effect of positive habits. It allowed me to lock in all across the board. So when I cut out drinking, and I remember what I was going to say, and I zigzagged my train of thought, and this is just how I am. But I sometimes, because my whole pattern of behavior was Friday, Saturday night to go out and hit the bars. In 2024, I was talking about that. I would go hit the bars with some friends, and we would drink until 1 or 2 in the morning. I tried to be good. I thought I was doing the right things. I would pretty much exclusively drink vodka sodas. So I was like, oh, it's low calorie, like it's fine. But again, on the back end, it's totally not fine. It's alcohol. You're staying up late. It's messing with your sleep. Totally suboptimal lift the next morning. I mean, it's a total disaster, cascade effect into all these bad things. So going out drinking with the boys at night, like, yeah, it's a total disaster, right? Oh, and by the way, drinking also makes you like, or at least it makes me hungry. So then, late night snacking, it's like, okay, this is a disaster. So that's the behavior you need to change. But if I didn't go out and I didn't drink and I didn't do that stuff, what am I doing? Sitting at home, I would have tremendous FOMO. Like, I need to go out, I need to talk to girls, I need to be included, and so it was the motivator to keep doing that habit, to keep doing something that I knew was working against me. But I really wanted to make friends. I wanted to meet new people. I wanted to meet girls. I wanted to drink and be social, and it's fun, right? So how did I change that behavior? So again, dry January, that power of commitment, that power of saying, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Because it's a personal goal. It's my integrity. It matters more because this is a mission I'm on. You have to get attached to that. If you set a goal, like a commitment, you say, oh, I'm going to do dry January, and then like, let's say, okay, you pass up a few opportunities to drink, like I talk about, and then you just go back on the goal. Like, that is, to me, like one of the biggest failures that you can have. Like, when I commit to something like that, I have to do it. Like, that's just the mindset that I have, and I think that's the mindset you need to adopt, is that if you fail something that you put out in front of you like that you you can do, right? Not drinking for a month, it's not that hard. Some of you guys are probably a lot of you guys are probably under the legal age, and so if you are and you're not drinking it in the first place, this whole process should be a lot easier for you. But it's not about the not drinking, it's about the bad habits and the environment around you. So here's what I'm really getting at. When I stopped drinking, even on some weekends, I would go out. I went to the bars and I just knew I wasn't going to drink, but it was boring. So I went back home. I went to sleep early. I went to bed when I was supposed to. I was on a mission. I didn't care. It ripped the FOMO that I had in 2024. Oh man, I got to go out. I got to talk to girls. I got to hang out with my friends. I got to, be in these situations where all these bad habits are going to come back. No, I didn't have any of that FOMO anymore. I became detached from that in January 2025. And so all of a sudden I was just basically all of the good habits manifested all at once, because that whole pattern of behavior is all just one big snowball. So when you go to bed earlier, you're not drinking, you're going to bed earlier, then you're waking up earlier. You have more time in your day. You're burning more calories. You wake up feeling good. Your mind is clear. You have more energy in the gym. You get a better lift. Oh, your muscles get bigger. I mean, it's everything. And so that's what really, and then even beyond that, I was like, oh, well, here's even the bigger kicker. Well, I'm doing dry January. I feel like I have more energy. I have more habits. Now I have more motivation to even take things to another level in terms of things like diet. So I wanted to get shredded. So what did I do? I made the final ripcord on here's what I'm going to do with my diet. I'm not eating sandwiches anymore. No more bread from sandwiches. No more hamburger buns at all. I used to eat at Five Guys, was within walking distance of my house. I did no more buns, no more rice, no more tortillas. So I didn't eat burritos anymore. I had a little bit of rice, so to say no rice is not quite correct. So did I have some carbs in small places here and there? Yes. I was not making it a mission to go zero carb. That was not my intention. But I knew that I wanted to go on a pretty big cut, and I was like, this is it. I'm pulling the ripcord to do everything I possibly can to get in the best shape of my life, because I have all this motivation from the fact that like, hey, I can't drink this month, so I may as well just like lock in across the board because I can't, like, I'm not going out at night. I was like, I'm not being social. Like, this isn't even an option to me. And so the truth is, in 2023, 2024, I was pretty kind of largely like by myself. I mean, I have some friends, but I was pretty much by myself. And so that going out behavior, that FOMO behavior, that was the thing that was like, that was my social outlet. Like, that was the thing that I felt like, oh, I'm being social. But it was wrapped up in all these bad habits. So when I got rid of those bad habits, I was like, well, I can't really be social because like I go out to the bars, but it's just awkward because I'm like, I'm not drinking. And like, also I didn't want to put myself in those environments where I was scared I was going to drink, but I knew I wasn't going to, because when I set that goal and that commitment, there was just no way I was ever going to drink for the rest of January once I had made the commitment. There was just no way. But yeah, I mean, when you're not drinking out at the bars, I can just tell you, I showed up a couple times, but it resulted in me going to bed way earlier. That's just, it's probably not too surprising. So this is also just a body fat chart from DEXA scan that I got. So I've gotten 3 body fat scans, and this is just to prove that basically from June 11th, 2024, 15.1% body fat. So that was 149 pounds I weighed in summer of 2024. So again, that was that physique where I was kind of, very kind of muscular, but clearly not anywhere close to a 6-pack. I mean, 2024, that June, so that would have been right before I left for my trip to Barcelona. So that was, I'll show you a picture of kind of what I look like then. Here's my back. I was doing some muscle ups in Barcelona. So I definitely had a lot of muscle, but there's just, I have way more back definition today. So anyway, so that was, and what's really cool about this chart is it shows from June 2024, 15.1%, 149 pounds, 120 pounds lean tissue. March 2025, 8.9%. I lost exactly 10 pounds of lean tissue. My total mass went down 10 pounds, and I lost 0 pounds of lean tissue, and it was just all fat. So this was a 9-month period, but I went from 15.1 to 8.9, and my total mass went down 10 pounds. So that was the locking in stage. I mean, really, it happened from January, right? If I had gotten a scan in January 2025, that would have been interesting to just see just in 2 months, because that's really where I feel like most of the transformation took place. But this just goes to show you can maintain your muscle and lose over 10 pounds of fat. So this is over 10 pounds of fat loss in 9 months, which really it happened in much less time than that, but lost 0 lean tissue. So that's what this shows. And then, okay, here's what I want to talk about is like, this is my theory of like what it means to lock in. And again, this was my dream physique from the beginning. It was really about like, I wanted that kind of Brad Pitt Fight Club-esque physique. And, again, I think I've kind of, I'm gonna say I get a passing grade for achieving that. So what this shows on the left here about locking in is kind of a theory that I developed when I was thinking about just I've been thinking a lot about what it means to actually lock in. Like, what is the meat and potatoes here? What actually locking in, I think, can be best described as is when you've achieved an intersection, and it should say like locking in here in the middle. We should make it say like locking in or locked in right here. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's when you achieve an intersection of basically 3 words. There we go. Intensity. So how much intensity do you bring to the table in your workouts, in your diet? How much intensity do you do things with? It's very important. Second, willpower. I think maybe this is the most important one, but I think this is wrapped up in kind of like your purpose too. What is your mission? What is your goal? You should state it clearly. What is your goal? Because are you just adopting habits that you need to state clearly what your objective is. And so with anyone that I work with, that's my first question. What's your goal? That is always the first question. What is your goal? Because if I know what your goal is, then now we can start to map how to get there. But if we don't have a clearly stated goal, like this was my goal, Brad Pitt from Fight Club. But if we don't have a clearly stated goal, then we don't know what we're doing. So we need to clearly state a goal, and then we can map a path to get there. But the willpower part really comes in as like, how bad do you want it? Because the more you want it, the faster you will get it. It's just a rule, basically. Because think about it, where you put your energy is where you will end up. Where your mind, how you think, what you obsess over in your mind is what you will get. And so if you're not thinking about getting that physique constantly throughout the day, or I'm not saying you need to think about it all moments or whatever, but I'm talking about like relatively speaking, if you're not consumed by it, it's not something you really want, it's not going to happen. So what I will say on that point is, as you go through your journey and you do make steps to get closer over time, because again, it doesn't happen overnight, so it doesn't need to take 7 years, but it comes down to your willpower. How fast are you willing to make those changes and to make those little mini commitments here and there? Oh, I'm giving up the bag of popcorn. I'm giving up this habit. Oh, mom, we can't have that spaghetti every week, or like whatever it is. It's a zigzag. It's all these little changes that need to take place, but how fast can you give things up and then move on? And it's, okay, I'm making this change. Darn it, I don't get to have that cookie every week that I always get. Darn it, but then now that's the baseline. Okay, now let's cut something else out. Okay, now that's the baseline. I'm comfortable with that. Okay, now let's make this change. Let's start eating more protein. Like, the faster you can string together those changes, the easier it will become to make more changes. So I talk about the progress. A lot of people talk about beginner gains and the gains come quickly, and like that's true, but like let's step back and look at the entire fitness journey here. The progress that I saw actually was more or less exponential. So you saw the muscle growth from 18 to 2019. I mean, we're talking like, yes, it looked better, but it was pretty, pretty pathetic. I mean, you're not going to achieve a huge physique overnight, but even just the muscle growth here, I mean, it's something, but it's not great. I would argue that like 2024, I mean, we've got serious muscle here from 2023 pretty good too, but what I'm getting at is that your willpower, how bad do you want it, is going to really like be the engine behind how fast you can make it happen. And then number 3 is confidence. And confidence is really important. To me, it's like almost it doesn't need to be in the Venn diagram. I think it's more of just a booster, because if you're confident about yourself, if you're confident about what you're doing, then it makes it easier to obsess over it. It makes it easier to actually do this stuff. So confidence is definitely very helpful. But the one bad thing about confidence is if you are super confident in what you're doing and you're super confident about what yourself and you're super confident about like, oh, here's the macro split you need to achieve your goal. Here's what I need to do. If you're wrong, that confidence is going to work against you hard. Like if you're super confident in the wrong direction, you're going to run off a cliff. So be careful with your confidence. Make sure that you've got what you need dialed in. Make sure you're right about your training. Make sure you're right about, what you're doing before you put all your energy behind it. And I would say definitely have an open mind. I mean, especially if you're just starting your fitness journey and you don't know what you're doing, understand that you don't know what you're doing. You need to know that you don't know what you're doing. So early in your fitness journey, confidence is a dangerous game, because if you're too confident in the wrong direction and you really don't know what you're doing, that's going to be really, really bad. So you want to admit what you don't know, for sure. But confidence can be very good, because if you have confidence, it's going to make everything easier to actually do, because you know your mission, you're confident in it, you don't care what people think, right? You're not going to let others hold you back from what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build. That is a huge advantage if you are confident in yourself and you know your own mission and you are just on your own path, right? These are all solo missions. Nobody is going to make things easier for you. In fact, a lot of times others are going to make things way harder, right? Those environments that you're in. So to have confidence when you're with your friends, when you're out and they go, oh, dude, here's a beer. And you go, no, I'm not drinking that, right? And they're like, what? You're not drinking all this stuff? What? Or here's a cupcake, whatever it is. And you're just like, no, right? I don't, and respectfully, no. Like that's not part of my, right? People are not used to like, what, you're denying to accept this, like to eat this cupcake? Like, why? Because people always ask like, why not? Because they want to know why you're making the choice they should be. Facts. They want to know why you're making the choice that they should be making. And it's very uncommon to reject things like that. And so you have to be confident enough to explain what you're doing and your mission, and be confident enough to, others will try to poke holes in it. Why? If physique is not that important, it doesn't matter, whatever. But if it's important to you, then it's important. So you need to understand and be confident in what you're doing and your own plan, your own mission. Recognize it's a solo mission, and these other NPCs are just that. They're NPCs in your mission that are trying to make it hard for you. And that's why this game is so hard. It's this game of environments. You need to step into other people's worlds, other people's environments, and maintain your composure, your mission. This is a very abstract way of talking about all this, but that's really what it comes down to. That's the last slide I have. So hopefully, something in there was helpful. I can't believe I've been talking for an hour, but that is it, man. That's my 7-year transformation. Those are my thoughts on what it really takes to lock in. And I hope that was helpful for you. And I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about my story. So, yeah, I am starting to interact with many of you on Instagram. If you are not already following me on Instagram, this is my Instagram. Where, I really do calisthenics, but I also am working with people on improving their physique as well. So, I'll leave a link to book a free call with me in the description, but I really only can work with so many, and am only really interested in working with those people that are really, really have that strong willpower that I was talking about. I want the people who really, really want it, who are super engaged, because this, I love this fitness journey stuff. Everyone's got a different story. And I just want to be able to share some things that will make people accelerate faster than I did and make the right choices faster. So that's what I'm out here to do, and just trying to do it in the most honest way possible and share as much from, as much of what I think is possible. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.